Of all ways for the 2023 NFL season to kick off, the Monday night game of all teams, of all players, Paulie, and of all games for it to happen in Monday Night Football on 9/11 in New York. After this entire offseason, they go out. They told you back in January, we're going to do whatever we can to bring in a quarterback. You knew that it was probably going to be Rodgers, Super Bowl or bust for this team. They do it. And then you put up through the entire offseason, the entire summer. They go through hard knocks. This team is winning everybody over. And then 4 plays in offensively. Seriously? Like that really happened last night? Come on. That's brutal, man. I felt the same way last night watching that I did in 2008 when the Patriots started their season against the Chiefs and Tom Brady blew out his knee. I don't care who it is, big name quarterback, you don't want to see this happen in the NFL in week 1.
No.
And I'm sure we're going to have news today. My guess is by the end of the show, if I had to bet on it, in the next 3 hours, we will have an answer to the severity of the injury. And, I mean, based on what we saw last night and are hearing this morning, it's not pretty.
When COVID happened, I was so depressed. I was lost. I love sports. I love football. And the number one storyline is gone. And it was so surreal. I had goosebumps. The guy's coming out with the flag on 9/11. There's a double rainbow from the World Trade Center
Incredible
to the
scene.
Empire State Building. The place is going crazy, and that happens. And it might be time to adjust the most tortured fan base rankings, too. Because the same thing happened in 1999 when they went to the AFC title game in Vincenzo.
Yep.
The same thing happened, too. So I like to be right. This team was going to be so good. This defense is nasty. And to be one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and he goes down, and I know you're 45-1 future ticket, but the storyline here, I mean, it was, can they make the playoffs? Can they end the drought? Can they go to the Super Bowl? His career might be over. I mean, this is going to be Achilles here. I don't know how long the guy's out. I feel terrible for him.
This could be it. I mean, 40 years old. Now, if that's what it is, I mean, it looked very familiar to Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
I mean, remember Kobe, when that happened to him, he was such a warrior. He shot the free throws and he limped off the court. And
good point, because you see Rodgers, he stands up and is looking at the sideline for the play.
Yes.
And then he goes down.
And he's like, wait a second.
And I'm not getting up. So to me, it's not, no way, it's ankle.
There's no way.
It's ankle. Because Kobe Bryant blows out his Achilles. He says to Harrison Barnes, did you kick me?
Yeah.
He goes, no. And he gets up and shoots the free throws and walks off, and that's it.
Well, then all of like the videos that were coming out last night on social media, you could see the calf pop. I mean, it did. I mean, there are certain angles that are kind of at the field level, and when that foot gets caught in the turf, and then Floyd kind of like has him the way he did, total fluke play for it to happen like that, you could see the calf just go, boom, it blew up like that. And so whenever that happens, you're like, yeah, that's probably going to be it. And then I know that they're internet doctors and they're not at the scene, but a lot of people like to do this. Watching the video, I saw countless people like come across my Twitter timeline basically saying it has to be the Achilles. That's the only thing that can be. And then the reaction that we got to that specific field last night with the AstroTurf.
Yeah.
David Bakhtiari, of course, played with Rodgers forever in Green Bay. He has a great point here. When he tagged the NFL on X and he said, you care more about soccer players than us. You plan to remove all the artificial turf for the upcoming World Cup. So clearly it's feasible. I'm sick of this. And there was a Packers reporter who quote tweeted Bakhtiari and said, he's not saying this because it was Rodgers. Bakhtiari has been saying this for years.
Yeah.
Players can't stand playing on this. And then you go back and look at the history of like some of the headlines in the New York papers. It's just over and over and over again. Player injured again. Turf got him one more time.
Yep. I know Dwayne Brown's sick. I mean, I don't know why you're going low on a guy, how that worked out. But, you know, he doesn't – Saleh said don't blame him. I thought that was ridiculous. You know, do you tie it into what happened with the injury, too, with the turf? But how about that 24-hour stretch in that stadium? The Giants lose 40-0, and then Rodgers is out 4 minutes into the game. And I mean, it's just stunning what happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, I go after Woody Johnson, too. Zach Wilson shouldn't even be on the team. That's another thing. You're still okay with Mike White. You could have also survived an injury to Rodgers. It just couldn't happen early in the season because you got to go through this tough schedule in the first 6 games. Yep. Then you're running the Green Bay offense. So Zach Wilson, I feel he's up against it too. But, oh, my God, it's not only Zach Wilson. You got Hackett calling the plays, and you got a shaky offensive line.
The offensive line might be the weakest link of everything they just talked about, right?
Sorry, they can't pass block.
No, you saw Rodgers was going to be running for his life the entire time last night. And so I know that this team is, every level of defense, they are loaded. D-line, linebackers flying all over last night. The secondary is absolutely elite. On offense, they have, look at the catch by Wilson in the end zone for the touchdown. People were saying last night they've never seen, and Wilson told SVP after the game, I've never practiced. It's like, I'd like to sit here and tell you I practiced that. I don't practice that. But the ball's coming at me, and the way that I'm getting defended, he's like, I got to try to make a play and catch the ball.
He's boxing him out.
How do you?
It's one of the best catches I've ever seen.
Just taps it over and then.
Right.
What?
Yeah, for him to catch that? It's
Look
a horrible.
How good's Hall?
Yeah, I know.
You know what entered my mind last night?
He's a beast. You don't have to tell me.
I went back and looked at the 2020 and 2021 Iowa State teams with Brock Purdy and Breece Hall. Their numbers, they won like 7 games and then 9 games.
Yeah.
How bad of a coach is that guy?
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. Oh, my God. It was for him to play defender in that position where you think, oh, my God, we can't have it intercepted. Then he taps it to himself, juggles it, and catches it. Oh, what a catch.
Yep.
But, that game had everything. Everything. And then the walk-off punt return.
I would honestly say that it was a nightmare for both teams because the Bills completely blew the game. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest here, the Josh Allen prime, like his absolute peak for a couple of years, it was awesome. And I get it, people fell in love with him. But may I remind you that the guy was not very good at Wyoming, and his first year or two in the NFL, he was also like not very good at all, and he was not accurate. And that changed with Brian Dable. And some of those passes again last night, I think the people who were like down on the Bills big time this year, it kind of made a little bit of sense to me. It's one game. I'm not going to go nuts. I'm just telling you that there's a chance that Josh Allen has already played the best ball we've ever seen from him ever in his career.
You're not overreacting because he's averaging 2 turnovers a game since week 1 of last year. That's why you're not overreacting. And you can see it with Zach Wilson, but it's the same thing for all these guys. If you lose your confidence and you start to question yourself and your ability, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. That was horrible by Buffalo. All you have to do is go conservative and don't turn the ball over and you're going to win. The Jets were as high as 15-1 in play. That'll tell you something, what they thought of Zach Wilson. And you saw the in play. I disagree with the stuff, too, about what is Aaron Rodgers worth to the number. Because Wilson is so bad. You could say, I don't believe it's 5.5. So now the Cowboys are laying 7.5 next week. I know conference plays a big role in this. At DraftKings, the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons now have better odds to win the Super Bowl than the Jets. The Jets' adjusted win total is 8.5 under -150. They are plus 210 to make the playoffs. Can you do a 2000 Baltimore Ravens? Can you remember how bad Peyton Manning was with the Broncos and they still won the Super Bowl? I don't think you can play that. You can't win 17-14 every game in today's NFL. Look at the Broncos last year.
Right.
You can't do it. I don't care how good the defense is. It's just too much pressure on them, and you're relying on turnovers and short fields, and it's just too difficult.
Yeah, they're 6-1 to win that division now at DraftKings. That's not enough of a movement to make me want to get down on that bet. And like you said, 60-1 to win the Super Bowl. What would you need to take the Jets against the Cowboys then? If they move the number from Cowboys 3.5 to 7.5. This defense is elite. They're going to keep them in most games this year.
I like under 42 a lot.
Dak's turnover were prone.
Yeah.
So we could see a little bit of what we saw last night. Yeah, the under there is screaming, hey, Mitch, come over and bet me right now, please.
So Salah also after the game said Zach Wilson's their guy. He's their quarterback for the rest of the season. I still think they were fine with Mike White. I don't know why. The issue there with the owner, I don't know what the problem is, but I think it's a big swing and miss for the Jets. Do you call Flacco, who was on the team last year? You got to get somebody now, too. It's Wilson and Boyle now what you have.
Yeah, I'm not picking up what he's putting down. There's absolutely, that's probably what he has to say in the heat of the moment. There's no way the Jets can wake up today if they slept and say to themselves, you know what, we're okay. Don't pick up the phone. Don't call anybody. You have to make several phone calls today.
Yep.
You have to.
I immediately tweeted, you call Phillip Rivers. Immediately. You're all in. What the hell does it matter now? Not to mention you keep your draft picks because the Packers aren't going to take your picks now.
No.
How big is that?
65% of the snaps, right?
You're all in. You are all in. You call Rivers. You call anybody you can.
Rivers might die behind the offensive line, though. He might get injured more than, and he hasn't played since 2020.
See, that's the problem. I can't call other teams about their backup because it's too valuable, and they're thinking, what do I do if our guy gets hurt? And then the other thing, the guy's got to be able to move. Because the offensive line is so bad.
A little bit, yeah.
So you might have to rule out Flacco. You're right, but you got to have some mobility.
You know who they're going to call? And I'm just going to I'm going to shake my head for like 4 hours after they make this move. You know who it's going to be, right?
They're going to call Carson Wentz?
100%.
You don't want no part of that? No part of it.
Part of me thinks it's actually worth it because just in case you can somehow get that early career form out of him. But like 90% of me is like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
The guy's awful. And he's out of the league for a reason.
Yeah.
But again, what are your other options? You want to do Colt McCoy? I would actually probably consider a phone call to Colt McCoy. You want to call Nick Foles?
No. I'd call McCoy first. I don't want to call Foles. He looks so bad in Indy.
Want to call Andrew Luck?
I'd call Andrew Luck.
Hey, Andrew, you happen to be in football shape? You okay? You working out in the backyard?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm having a good time in retirement. Yeah.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.